Frank looked like a nice balanced swing.
Well, the free-flowing action that we find synonymous with Rory McIlroy in display, even under the nervousness of an opening tee shot in the final round of a US Open, and just blitzed it down the fairway.
That one carried a long way, stayed up in the sky forever. Nothing to argue about there, right in the fairway. Perfect lie here, Frank. What's Rory got?
Well, expect something just slightly right of the flag. You want to avoid the hill and the bunkers on the right, and there's a little bit of a gut or a chasm just over that left side of the green. So left, not a good option.
About 145 yards away. Good swing, good shot yet again. Looks to be a good one, Frank.
Oh, nestles inside 15 feet, so a birdie chance coming up for Rory.
Frank, to win this many majors this young is impressive. It's historic. What makes McIlroy so good?
He runs to the beat of a different drum. It's his own rhythm, it's his own style. He's critiqued sometimes, I've done it, where, some poor decision making, but in the end he's naturally aggressive, and that's why we see these sparks of brilliance. That's his way of playing, and to be perfectly honest now, I hope he doesn't change that. Birdie straight out of the gate.
Beautifully done.
I think early in a round is very important. It sets the tone for the day, and it gives you some positive momentum early. You see the ball go into the hole and it gives you confidence. You face a downhill putt at a US Open with greens that are as tricky as that. It just makes it even more difficult. I feel like you always face important putts no matter when it is, but obviously they're that much more important when, it's the final round of a major.
Now over to the second, and McIlroy with a challenging downhill putt. Frank, I know it's early, but if he drops this could really spark some momentum for the round.
But this putt will be very, very quick. You've got to be careful because the ball can quite easily take off once it gets past the hole.
But now a chance for a birdie. Not that time, but not for lack of effort. So he'll have to take care of his business and knock it in for par. All right, took care of his business there. So second shot here at the fourth, and this one sets up pretty well for McIlroy, doesn't it, Frank?
It's an easy one for him to work out. A little bit uphill, perhaps a club. And with 165 yards, playing closer to 170, 175, still a birdie opportunity. It's a good strike, good swing by McIlroy. No problem finding the putting surface.
He can really get red hot with a putter. Let's see what McIlroy does. Well, he'd like to have that one back in the bunker.
Still a chance to get it up and down.
Bunker shot coming up now for Rory. How's this part of his game, Frank?
It's certainly improved over the last couple of years, and it really has to, because he plays such an aggressive style of play that you have to accept the miss, just like what we saw in that second shot.
That's a disappointment right there, Frank.
Yeah, green light special, really. Come up considerably short.
Bunker shot coming up now for Rory. How's this part of his game, Frank?
It's certainly improved over the last couple of years, and it really has to, because he plays such an aggressive style of play that you have to accept the miss, just like what we saw in that second shot.
There's some times when there might be a wait on a tee box, or you've played your shot and you're waiting on your playing partners to hit their shots, and you just look around and you realize where you are, because you don't really you don't appreciate it that much whenever you're playing, and that's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about trying to win a golf tournament and not really taking in the beauty of your surroundings.
Rory set to tee off here on the long par 3 ninth hole, appropriately named Olympus for its high perch above the course. Really a stunning view.
It's right now about club selection, whether to hit one or two clubs less than what the yardage is showing right now. We're at least 100 feet above here. And you're going to want to sit up on the left side of that green. Have to avoid that menacing bunker on the right.
Another good swing, and it looks like, Frank, another really good shot.
And he's taking the trouble out of play.
Not a great shot, but not bad. And getting ready for the putt.
Well, we'll never know if that had gone in, because it never made it.
Just a couple of feet. Routine stuff for Rory. That's a par. Now it is Martin Keimer all alone. Not unlike that tree out in the distance. They actually called that one Lone Fir here at 15. So McIlroy is the chaser.
And not only is he chasing, Rich, he has to get this up and down. Very difficult flop shot. This is a high-risk shot. Trying to get that ball up very quickly over the little pot bunker and then somehow get the ball to land soft on these very fast and very firm greens.
Been this way all day. Airtight, no mistakes, solid shot.
And yet another green in regulation.
Just hammered that par putt, Frank.
Well, I don't know what he was thinking or what was going through his mind right there, but he better wake up in a hurry, because if this one doesn't go in, then that score is going to rack up very quickly.
And he makes it for a bogey here.
Final few holes to play, especially of a major championship like the US Open. You know, it's what you've worked so hard for. It's what, you know, you've put all those hours of practice in for, and you know, this is your moment. This is your moment to see what you've got against the best players in the world and test yourself at the ultimate level. There's obviously a lot of pressure. You know, you don't want to let an opportunity like this pass you by. You don't want to let it slip. So to stay really focused, really concentrated, try to take one shot at a time, try and put the result out of your mind, control what you can control. But saying that, it is difficult with so many things going on around you, whether it be the crowd or it could be the person that you're going up against. You know, there's so many things that you can't control, but you know, the things that you can control, that's what you have to concentrate on, and that's what you have to try and, you know, do to the best of your ability. And if you can do that, that's what gives you the best chance to try and win a huge tournament like the US Open.
You couldn't ask for much more. We have right here two former U.S. Open champions, 17th hole, tied for the lead, Martin Kaymer and Rory McIlroy.
And Rich, it's easy to remember these types of situations, and it's as much about mental toughness as anything right now. The 17th hole is named Derailed, and I'm sure it's a great test for both men's mental toughness.
Second shot, good look at the green. Rory now for par. They'll put a little pressure on Kaymer. Good roll. Frank, this has been just a fantastic week, and these last few shots are going to determine the entire championship.
Rich, normally you'd think par on the 72nd hole would be good enough to win a US Open, but this par 5 is certainly reachable by these players. Par, no doubt, will not be good enough.
What a great drive on the final hole.
You know, Rich, so often we associate US Opens with just a straight slog, par after par, but this is a real treat. Kaymer at his best, McIlroy at their best, playing anything other than US Open style. This is a totally different generation.
Brilliant golf by the two Europeans. What a shot. I mean, McIlroy just aired it out.
If there was any risk there, it certainly didn't look like it.
This is a pretty long putt here. You'd be happy to get this to within 2 or 3 feet. You really want to take the stress out of that next putt. That was not a very good read right there. Could hear a pin drop right now. It all comes down to this. This is for the US Open. Well, you're not going to make that putt all the time, but you'd like to at least get it to the hole.
If he keeps putting like that, he's going to be an announcer in no time.
Just needs to keep it steady here over the putt. Just singes the edge, Frank.
Yeah, but at least he's burning the edges. You know you're hitting good putts.
So just a formality here. The door was open, but Martin Kaymer slammed it shut. Kaymer, the U.S. Open champion yet again. It came down to the final hole. Kaymer really put on a show. This will forever be remembered as one of the best finishes in major championship history.
Lose a lead or you lose a major, or it doesn't quite work out the way you had hoped. At that moment in time, there's obviously a lot of disappointment, but I think that passes and you use that as motivation for the next one, and that's the only way you can view it. You can't feel sorry for yourself, or you can't get down about it, because what's happened's happened. The past is the past, and you move on. But you use it as motivation not to let it happen again. My toughest loss was the 2011 Masters, when I had a 4-shot lead going into the final round, and you completely blew up on the back nine. It was a very tough moment for me. It was very disappointing, but I used that as motivation to say to myself, that's not going to happen again. That's not the player I am. That's not the player I want to be. I used it in a way that 70 days later, I won my first US Open and my first major. So sometimes disappointments can be catalysts for good things to happen in the future, and it's just how you react to it. And I feel like, if you react to your disappointments in the right way, they can be very beneficial.
This is EA Sports coverage of the PGA Tour. Well, it's truly a pleasure to be in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're in University Place, Washington, and the golf course is relatively new to golf fans, Chambers Bay, and what a magnificent-looking golf course.
And it's building up quite a reputation very, very quickly, and the reason why, well-designed, good test for any level of play. There's enough options out there, enough long holes, enough short holes. So pick your poison, really, but make sure you're on your game, because Chambers Bay, it'll test anyone to the limit.
All right, Frank, how would you break down this approach shot here at the first at Chambers Bay?
Well, Rich, it's partially blind, so you've really got to fixate on the exact point that you want to aim at. That's one of the beauties of this golf course. So maybe even just have a little look and make sure you know that line, because once that ball hits the ground, the natural contours are going to take it in a certain direction. So really fixate on that line.
Oh my goodness, how did he miss that? This one just requires a little bit of focus. Par for McIlroy, but you're just waiting for that moment when he hits that accelerator and pulls away. Now at the second and a medium-length par 4, Frank.
Yeah, a slight dogleg to the left, rather long, skinny green here, well bunkered all the way down the left side. Really anything down the right and the natural contours of the land should kick that ball a little to the left.
And that's going to stay on the fairway here at the second hole. Frank, what's the best way to access the hole location on this second shot here at the second hole at Chambers Bay?
Well, Rich, it's really set up with a drive. If you can drive it down the right side, you get a better view. Plus, you can avoid that ridge that's in the middle of the green on the left side. If you're coming in from the left side, that bunker on the right, now you realize why they put that there. Because when you've got a skirt to the right of that ridge, that second shot becomes a little more difficult. It's that sneaky distance.
One under early in the round. At the third tee now, Frank, and what are we staring at here?
This green is anything other than symmetrical, so be very, very cautious on where the flag is. Anything in the middle of the green you can putt to the corners. Well, if you can call them corners, more like ragtails, but beautiful par 3.
Let's see what McIlroy does now with his second. Pretty good shot right there. Makeable putt right here. He is currently sitting at 1 under for the round. Nice par to remain 1 under. Frank, standing here on the 4th tee at Chambers Bay, you can see what this golf course is all about with those dunes on the left and all that sand down on the right. A lot of trouble here.
Yeah, first hole, Rich, really that bends to the right, but if anything, you want to keep the tee shot down the left side. It's going to give you a better angle to the green. And unlike the 2 previous holes, this fairway slopes to the other direction, to the right.
And that's where you want to be at the 4th, in the fairway.